Oh, I can't go. Is that departs tomorrow? Oh, yay! We'll do that, I think. And it's not going to be a horrible time. We were lucky to arrive in San Francisco just in time to catch a journey along the as-yet unfinished Transcontinental Express, which would take us as far as Burlington in 5 days, with only a handful of stops along the way. Monsieur Fogg, unfortunately, was not feeling lucky, having eaten some rather speculative oysters in the afternoon when away from my watchful eye. I was most solicitous, and brought my master cool cloths and weak sugared tea till he pronounced that he felt much recovered. Oh, that's made it worse, somehow. Greetings, Monsieur Durand. Good day, Mr. Burlington. You know, Burlington... oh, I can't go to Chicago from Burlington, apparently. Burlington to Atlanta. Still, you can take SkyTube Blue Bits out at the sale in Lisbon. Burlington to Washington. Some buyers will pay well for even jackets from Washington, but now I suppose you don't have any... No, I do not. But don't worry, you will. Oh dear. Chen. Now they call Chen the Magic City of the Plains. Omaha. No. We learned nothing. The first day aboard was enjoyable enough. American trains could clearly not compete with their European counterparts, hooray, but it was amusing to see them try. The posters proclaimed Pullman's Palace sleeping cars. And while not exactly palatial in the slightest, they were at least serviceable. We sipped cool beer as we rattled through a long stretch of desert in the shadow of tall mountains. I attended to Monsieur Fogg and his delicate stomach, which was not entirely better today. Converse. Anything else? Ah, what is your wish, master? Passepartout, there you are. Burlington. Regrettably nothing. What about... Did you discover anything in Havana? One can sail aboard the trading vessel from Havana to Miami, Washington. My aunt designed parts for the Piedmont airline from Washington to New York. Okay, so we've learnt a little bit more. Well, we already knew about this route. Yeah, so I'm quite a way behind where I was, but yeah, we've gone a different route up until this point. I'm not entirely sure how it differentiates. I think you obviously go to London. You're forced to go to London to Paris and then spread out, and then you can branch out from there. I'm not entirely sure, like, if you get pulled together at this point. You could probably go along South America, but I've never tried that route. Maybe I should. Our fellow passengers were a curious mix of gold and silver prospectors, homesteaders, farmers from all corners of the world, Mormons, missionaries, soldiers, and stiff-necked gentry of various sorts. I gave a young black woman with a deep red bonnet and an infectious smile, a wide smile. Her name was Diana. I'm meeting my husband in Cheyenne, she told me. He did construction work in New York, but New York isn't safe anymore. We have enough money to move now. Why isn't it safe? I queried innocently, having only the broad strokes of American news and history. You did not hear of the draft riots in Europe, she asked wonderingly. New York has always had Confederate sympathies, and when the Union began drafting New Yorkers, they rioted. They killed and burned black homes. My husband has never felt safe since. But now we're moving to Cheyenne. She smiled, nearly glowing with happiness. Where else can one go but New York? If we didn't want to go there. I was thinking of our journey ahead. New Orleans, she replied. You can take the paddle boat down the Mississippi from Burlington. She laughed. Though New Orleans is dangerous in its own way. We talked a little more, and the afternoon wore into evening, and we passed by Ogden, close to Salt Lake City. We watched as passengers disembarked, glimpsing fertile fields and well-tended ranches out of the windows of the train. Want to find out. Greetings, Mr. Durant. Burlington to Washington. Washington from here is fine. New Orleans. Atlanta. Okay. It looks like there's no way out from Burlington. Greetings, down effort. Burlington. Do you know anything about this? Okay, probably not. Quickest way to Atlanta is via New Orleans. So it looks like Burlington is a bit of a bad idea. We should probably get off at Cheyenne. Say a fellow with a painfully trimmed moustache and impeccable suit approached me outside the lavatory. I nodded at him companionably, and his thin lips parted in a contained grin. I'm Felix Granger. You're a puzzle. I was flattered. Monsieur moi? Humble passepartout? I am no more a puzzle than the sun's rise in the east. Truly, I am the simplest of men. Oh no, do tell me how you came to be on the Transcontinental. Thereby hangs a tale, I can tell, good sir. He was merely interested in me and my adventures, and I saw no reason not to enlighten him in great and florid detail. His eyebrows raised higher and higher during my recitation. Then, he said unsurely, this is your first time in America? Oh, yes. I grinned. A very strange place, you will allow, monsieur. He seemed surprised. Are we so strange? He stroked his trim moustache. Maybe we are at that. We may get off at Chen, I think, if that's an option. We stopped at Chen, Wyoming, for a few hours in the evening. The trim-moustached fellow disembarked to talk with a 6-foot-tall woman who wore the latest slim trained skirts and a pistol tucked into her waistband. We watched on the wiser. At luncheon, I asked a sturdy-looking prospector who looked out of the carriage with an expression of palpable awe. That's Esther Hobart Morris, the first woman justice of the peace in all of America, he said fervently. Ain't she, Summit? The trim-moustached fellow boarded the train again before the last whistle blew, his face drawn and anxious. Day 60, Monsieur Fogg murmured that night in his sleep, and still some distance yet to travel. Oh, we've hit 60. Oh, and I missed the conversation. We were held up by outlaws. They dragged the tree trunks over the line and forced the train to a halt before boarding, brandishing pistols and sabres. They went carriage to carriage demanding valuables. I looked at my master, who had a certain glint in his eye, and I did not doubt that he wished to resist these outlaws' demands, being a man with the deepest respect for the law. The lead bandit fired his gun into the air. The name, he declared, is Jesse James. Now you give me everything you've got. The saber lifted to my throat. I handed over my wallet. What else could I do? I lost like 2,000. Ouch. Probably shouldn't have taken out the 4,000. Monsieur James smiled a toothed smile, tossed me £10 back in return. At least I don't keep all our money in the same purse. The certain point moved on. Now it was at Monsieur Fogg's next. What about you? Look good for it. I jumped to his aid. He is my gentleman. I carry his possessions for him. Is that so? The outlaw declared with interest. So I should technically be taking from you twice, should I? There was no other option. I hit him. Not a heavy punch, but enough to send him reeling a touch, and then Monsieur Fogg, with a sweep, battered him over the head with a trunk and threw the man out of our carriage. Could we take the money back? Through the window, I saw him being picked up by a group of rather surprised soldiers who waved a thank you. Then the steam engine restarted. Not much worse for wear, although our valuables were impounded as evidence. We did not have time to wait for the case to come to trial, but the office compensated us a little, to the tune of over £1,000. A kind fellow passenger gave me a spare pair of shoes. We keep losing our shoes. And a few hours later we reached Burlington. We disembarked, grateful to have arrived in one piece. Your funds have gone down considerably, but relations with Fogg have strengthened. Seems to be no departures today. We should... You said there's no... We could head down to New... I'm going to wait. I'm going to explore, which means we miss it, but we may get a bit more information. Burlington was situated on the west bank of the Mississippi River. We may get to Chicago and sell stuff, or you may get a route to Washington. Burlington was situated on the west bank of the Mississippi River and had grown to prominence along with the steamboats that paddled up and down the long stretch of the river. The construction of the Burlington Railway route had caused a temporary influx of Chinese and Irish labourers into the town, where many of them drank and generally had a good time. Good times were a scarce commodity in Burlington, or so it seemed to me. The town distinguishes itself in my memory as the place where I managed to burn one of Monsieur Fogg's shirts. He was not terribly understanding. I apologised most profusely, and Monsieur Fogg informed me that he preferred proper action to tedious apologies. This is growing to be a habit, Passepartout. I do not like it. Oh dear. Oh, so we didn't get anything from that. It departs tomorrow, so we'll hotel, shall we? We passed an anxious night, with our 80-day deadline looming. Every sunset seemed to carry extra weight. We made ourselves comfortable for the night, and I polished our shoes and hat brims to ensure everything was ship-shape for our upcoming departure. Anything I can sell? Canadian train timetable, which I don't think is going to be particularly useful. Oh, they stole my stuff! They stole my thing. I can't remember what that was. That's unfortunate. It was the other one of these, wasn't it? Ah, well. We may not need all of these in the end, I don't think. That might be worth it, just because we will be needing it. I don't think... That's £6. I'm not sure how useful that's going to be. Could at least get it, I suppose. It may have no connection. Don't crash. Thank you. So these are the train routes we've discovered. So it doesn't connect up to us. It just connects up to New York, and then that's it. Okay. Tad wasteful. And I can't go back to the market because it's closed. So we'll just head down. Oh well. We boarded the Dark Queen, a twin-decked, six-boiler stern wheeler bound for New Orleans. The Mississippi was famed for the luxury of her steamboats, but also for their unfortunate tendency towards catastrophic boiler explosions. I felt rather grim at the prospect of having all my flesh parboiled like a lobster, and resolved to spend as much of the journey to Crescent City as far away from the amidships boilers as possible. San Francisco, Chinatown riots. Oh, we are going to New Orleans in a game. The common rooms and lounges of the Dark Queen were full of gamblers enticing passengers into games of dice or cards. There were reports of passing more and more regulation, and the cheats and crooks had all fled to the unregulated waters of the Mississippi to ply their trade. A fool and his money are soon parted, so the saying went. I had little pity to waste on fools, though Monsieur Fogg clearly found the entire operation distasteful. Maybe I wasn't being overly distasteful enough. Mysterious Frenchman catches notorious Jesse James. Woo! We're an American hero! Or a hero in America. Or a French-American hero. Something. Captain Latour was clearly quite cosy with the gamblers and had something of their attitude himself. I'll wager I can get us to New Orleans in 3 days rather than 4. Who'll take the wager? We could use an extra day. And the captain seemed quite sure of himself. £100 on it, I called. The captain whooped before loping off to the engine room. Watch and learn, my friends. You'll see a record made today. We'll get an extra day. I'm happy with that. Converse. Greetings, Captain. Passport 2, you slimy dog. New Orleans to New York. I've heard I knew a woman who lived in Chicago just after the Winnipeg and Duluth Railroad to Winnipeg went missing. New York to... Nah, that's it really, isn't it? I'm happy with that. But I will still ask. New York to Miami. I can tell you, you can obtain tobacco in Miami, you can sell it in New York to Ponta Delgado. Thank you, I've enjoyed our chat. Quite meaningless. Quite meaningless. Yeah, I mean, if we can get to that, because we know about Ponta Delgado. Captain Latour ordered the Calliope to play a tune as he mustered the crew and gave them the order to push the engines to their maximum limit. The coal shovelers scowled at the extra work involved, but the captain ignored them magnanimously. The Dark Queen's crew seemed competent enough, but as the boilers whistled and screamed, the ship began to make ominous keening noises. I began to think the better of the wager. I tried to convince the captain to renege to little avail. I had a terrible feeling about the entire enterprise. Keep shoveling, Captain Latour shouted, tapping dials and muttering orders. He squeezed more oil onto the engine crank. We'll be in New Orleans by sundown, which was when something began to make a screaming noise. I turned about, looking astern, seeing smoke issuing from a crack in the metal, and then it was too late. The rear boil exploded. The entire ship seemed to shudder, and convulse as the sailors screamed and wept and burned. It was hell, in the literal rather than the metaphysical sense, and I was in it. We did not reach New Orleans that day, and I wondered if we ever would. I assume that means it takes an extra day. Artificers profit as magnate Sophos buys cargo gyrocopter line. Interesting. Random snippets of news that have got nothing to do with this. I quite like that. None of the sailors died yesterday. Few. Though some no doubt wish they had. A much chastened Captain Latour moored the ship and organised boats to take them to doctors ashore. Monsieur Fogg and I were unharmed, at least physically, but there was no music or laughter on the Dark Queen's deck, and even the hardened gamblers played in respectful silence. Hover ship abandoned. Captain claims boiler explosion killed artificer. Yeah, because if you said someone was murdered, what would you do about it? The Dark Queen continued her journey down the Mississippi, though at a crawling pace. Captain Latour ordered only 2 of the 5 remaining boilers fired, and had to offer double pay to the stokers to induce them. It is my fault, I confessed to Monsieur Fogg in anguish. I took his damned wager. My master regarded me thoughtfully. Captain Latour took a gamble, and this time he lost. That is all. I was speechless. But you are a gambling man, I said, thinking of the screams of the sailors. I realized as much the very first day you took me into your service. What is the difference? There is none, Monsieur Fogg said calmly after a moment's consideration. I merely have a better calculation of the odds. 13 days. Not sure you do. African airships will dominate skies. We docked at New Orleans when the sun was low in the sky, glinting over the brackish water of the river, bathing the French and Spanish colonial villas of the city in soft yellow light. Captain Latour came to see us off, bent-backed and almost grey as he handed me my winnings of £100. I think this wager has taught me caution, he said shakily. Be wary of New Orleans. She is a city a man can abandon himself in. I could not take his money, and gave it back. Spend it on your men, I said with some genuine disgust. He nodded sadly, but I fear he will only spend it on drink. In New Orleans, we can sell some more stuff. Sell that. Atlanta, Miami, Port-au-Prince. Hold on, we're not really using that, so actually we could probably plan to New York. Piedmont Airline departs New York tomorrow at 12, and I'd probably not get a better deal on that, can I? So I think we'll probably be grabbing that in a moment. Tomorrow at 12. Oh, I probably took too long in the market. No, because it was planning rather than. Oh, I can sell that. How much am I going to sell that for? Yeah, less than I paid for it. Put that there. That's extremely further static build-up, I would assume. Driving goggles, you could just have it for no reason. Or paints. Not really useful. That might get us some good deals. We'll probably just head to New York. Actually, I should probably figure this out, shouldn't I? Right, so New York. That would be Monday. How can I get to London? No, it won't let me go straight away. That's a couple of days. That puts us to. So as long as it doesn't take us 10 days to get across to London, we'll be okay. I think that probably works. I think that's probably the route we go. We'll explore just to see. Maybe something will pop up. But I doubt it. Yeah, Havana and Port-au-Prince. I walked the streets for a while, discovering the possibilities of how we might make progress. But I don't think those are good routes for us. They're going south. We need to go north at this point. I would have liked if there was like a little, like maybe even just like maybe you could put an air route over here, or maybe a very, very slow kind of straight route. We'll have to take the hotel. Kind of road route. That would have worked. I met Death in a smoke-wreathed, red-lit bar in New Orleans. As the jazz band struck up another tune, he offered to buy me a bourbon. Perhaps in 20 or 30 years, I replied archly, as some of the other patrons snickered. Death pulled off his mask to reveal handsome café au lait features and dark green eyes, and then extended a skeletal hand to me. A fine costume, I remarked. Merci, mon cher. I am Death at our neighbourhood Mardi Gras, and I am practising my role. He took my proffered hand and brought the back of it to his lips for a gallant kiss. He flicked me a rather unmistakable look under his dark lashes. To be so clearly desired by Death was unnerving. I found my feet, shaking, and stepped back. He tilted his face. Do you find my colour displeasing? He asked with a lazy smile. My master will be missing me. You have a master, he replied with a amused curl to his lips. So you're a slave then? A valet. You, mon cher, know little of slavery. Death replied tersely, resuming his mask. The chill of his cold fingers on my face sent a thrill of fear through me. Abandoning dignity, I ran from the bar, nerves rattling like knuckle bones in a cup. Let's go to New York.